What's up, everyone? Welcome to Reason to Smile, Light in the Darkness edition. Now, I'm sure a lot of you have noticed that yesterday was the 18th anniversary of September 11th, and the day before that was National Suicide Prevention Day. And it got me thinking, it got a grim taste in my mouth about how dark the world can be sometimes. And I thought to myself, wait a sec, there's always a reason to smile. There's always a reason to be happy. So I've searched through all of that and found a few good stories for you from why you should smile from one of the more darker sides and things that have happened through humanity. Now, Lego! For those of you out there struggling with suicidal thoughts or things along that nature, calling and reaching out for help is about to get a lot more easier to do. Now, suicide hotlines that people have out now are great, but they're nowhere near as accessible and easy to use as, say, 911, the standard American emergency. I'm not editing that out, sorry, service. But earlier, I believe a week or two ago, the FCC submitted a report to Congress to change that as the best possible method for implementing a 3-digit number for the federally funded National Suicide Prevention Line. The recommended number they have is 988. Now, obviously, it's not ready yet, but it is expected to pass. And I think this is a huge reason to smile. A lot more people are going to be getting help with this. And it's going to be a lot easier for people to try and reach out for help. Now, let's get on to number 2, shall we? Over in California, there was this middle school boys volleyball team that actually saved a woman from taking her own life. Now, I believe it was 12 of them. And they were just walking around, jogging the streets of Kelper Neighborhood School in California. Fresno, California, sorry. And they were just walking around, jogging, when they come across this woman climbing at the edge of a bridge, and she had the intent to take her life. Had she let go, she would have most certainly fallen 100 feet below onto train tracks and passed away. But thankfully, the boys didn't just walk away. They took action. You know what they did? They ran up to the woman. Well, they ran up to the coach first, telling him to call 911. And then they ran up to the woman and started telling her words of encouragement. But things like, "Stop this, your life is so much worth it." And they kept chanting these things until she decided to climb down. And this just proves my earlier point I've all been saying for a long time. Anybody can be a hero. Anybody can make a difference positively in the life of someone else. Continues the theme of heroism. Now, I believe a lot of you are familiar that yesterday was the 18th anniversary of the 9/11 terror attacks, one of the deadliest terror attacks in history that took the lives of almost 3,000 people on that day, a lot more since in the aftermath from illnesses or wars caused by the conflict. But on that day, we also need to remember that there was a great amount of heroes who saved people's lives. Our hero in this story's name is Jason Thomas. He was a former Marine, and he was dropping his daughter off at his mother's house in Long Island. When he heard what happened, like a real-life superhero, he changed into his Marine Corps uniform that he had in his trunk. He was a former sergeant in the Marines. And he drove straight to Manhattan, straight into this. And he searched through the rubble after the collapse of the towers for survivors. This man didn't have to do any of these things. Like I said, he was out of the Marines for around a year at this point. He did not have to go into this, and the rubble was dangerous in of itself. There was fires, lots and lots of fires that weren't even put out till over 3 months after the conflict for some of them. There was smoke, there was deadly fumes that have caused cancer in the time since to people, but he didn't care. He went right in and started helping the search and searching for people. Now, number 4 continues with number 3's topic of the day of 9/11. And there was this man who worked security in the southern tower of the World Trade Center. His name was Rick Rescorla. I'm sorry if I am butchering that name. He is truly a hero and deserves it, but I'm not good with names. Now, anyway, after Flight 11 collided with the North Tower, that's the opposite tower he was in, He was told to keep his people in the southern tower, and he replied to the people who told him, "Piss off, you son of a bitch." And this dude actually helped evacuate over 2,700 people out of the World Trade Center. Now, a historical fact, around 25,000 people actually worked in both trade towers. Now, there was obviously a heavy casualty on that day, with thousands dying, but a lot of people actually made it out relatively safely, even though thousands were injured also, but thousands also escaped too. And we need to focus on stuff like that, the positives in these situations. Now, unfortunately, our hero didn't make it through the day, but he is still a hero and a reason to smile. He was an everyman like us, and he saved over 2,700 people's lives. Number 5 goes to a lady named Irena Sendler. Now, she was a Polish social worker during World War II, had nothing to do with the Jewish people other than the main thing we all have. We're all fellow human beings. And she was disgusted at what was being done to the Jewish people around her. So, she created thousands of fake documents of identification and helped Jewish children escape from the Germans' grasp to safety. Thousands of kids, now adults, owe their lives to this woman's bravery. Number 6 on this list might very well be my favorite, and that is global suicide rates have declined by over 29% since the year 2000. How can you beat this? That's millions of lives saved. Now, suicide still is a heavy problem that affects a lot of us, but this means thousands, millions of people reached out for help and found it. And I think that can be a huge message to anyone suffering from these feelings that, hey, if this person could do it, so can I. I know suicide itself has a ripple effect, but anti-suicide can also have a ripple effect in people and inspire others to fight stronger and harder against these emotions until one day they beat it. And this is a huge message and a gigantic reason why you should smile. Now, number 7 goes to a man named Karl Lutz. Haven't heard of him? Well, you should have. This is the man who led the single largest rescue operation during World War II and is credited with saving over 62,000 lives. He was a Swiss diplomat living in Budapest during the Holocaust, and he refused to let the Germans kill the Jewish population due to his position. Now, it's not a huge position of power, but a diplomat still has a lot of power. And he wrote protective letters and gave them to Jewish people, sometimes taking them out of German death marches to do it. Now, he was told by others the obvious risks of the actions he was taking, which was obviously death or being sent to concentration camps, but he refused to compromise, and as a result, he is credited with saving half of the Jewish population in Budapest and 62,000 lives. There's this Irishman named Caolan Dorothy who last year attempted to take his own life, attempted to commit suicide. Thankfully, he survived. He's still alive to this day. But 2 weeks after that, his girlfriend told him she was pregnant. And she later gave birth to their son, a healthy baby boy, who Caolan mentions is the best thing that has ever happened to him in his life. Now, if he had been successful in that attempt, he would have missed that. He would have missed the best thing that could have happened to him. But he didn't. He's still alive, he's turned his life around, and he said he's incredibly happy now. Now, all the articles on this are linked down below if you want to check them out. But I think this is a beautiful message to people suffering from suicidal thoughts or attempts or what have you. You can turn your life around. You can be the person you want to be. You can make your life what you want it to be. And you can do it. You can do it. This guy is living proof of that. Now, number 9 is you. Well, not specifically you. Number 9 is people out there suffering or who have suffered with suicidal thoughts, actions, attempts, what have you, and that they're still alive. That's a huge reason you should smile. That could also be my favorite on this list, because let's face it, it's very hard to struggle with these feelings. It's very painful, but these people are real life heroes and role models we should follow because they beat the impossible. And if that's not a reason to smile, I don't know what is. Goes out to all the resources out there for people suffering with addiction, depression, eating disorders, schizophrenia, what have you, suicide, self-harm. Because there are so many people out there, a very significant portion of the world's population is affected by mental illness. And we often forget that there are so many resources out there that could help us or save our lives potentially. And I've took the liberty of linking a few of them down below for people looking for therapists, self-harm help, and obviously suicide prevention hotlines. But there is just so many ways you can get help out there. All you have to do is reach out, my friends. And if at first you don't succeed, I promise it will succeed if you just keep going. Because people have beaten suicide and led the lives they've dreamed of. People have done all of it. And if you out there watching this are struggling with these things, I highly, highly encourage you to seek help. Have a good day, everyone. Thank you so much for watching.